Hi, it's Steve with Legion Pro, and today I'm shooting from one of our most recent projects where we're turning this garage into a home gym. The perfect COVID type of project. But more often than not, we're working out of our customers' homes, renovating bathrooms, kitchens, hardwood floors, everything cosmetic that you can think of. Now, today's topic is one that we run into all of the time, and it should be easy to address, but in urban and suburban areas, not so much. The topic, of course, is permits. Today I'm going to go over when do you need them, what are they, and what implications do they have on your project. So keep watching to find out more. For the most part, the work we do here at Legion Pro falls under cosmetic upgrades and minor alterations. Things such as replacing kitchen cabinets, upgrades to your bathroom, hardwood floors, electrical outlets, lighting, opening concepts, all of these things we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, most of them fall into the minor alteration category. However, there are times when permits are needed. So I tell people as a rule of thumb, if we're working with existing electrical, structural, and plumbing, you're good. But there's still a gray area. Because if we are opening up walls, you still have to define whether that's load-bearing or non-load-bearing. Sometimes the only way to find out is to actually open up the wall. Also with electrical, you could be moving a receptacle, but the desired location may be further than what the wiring will currently allow. Now you have to put new wiring in. That becomes a permitted project. So let's say that you choose to make a modification that does require a permit. What's the big deal? Well, in short, it's going to increase your timeline and your budget significantly. Understanding the reason for permits will actually help you a little bit further. See, the city wants to make sure that all electrical, plumbing, and structural falls into their safety guidelines, and they don't have to worry about buildings falling over or having major plumbing issues throughout the city or electrical fires. I gotta be honest, most of our customers get sticker shock when they see the price and timeline increases associated with permits. But don't be tempted to do permitted work without permits. It can be much more expensive and take much more time. All a neighbor needs to do is call the building department and they'll force you to remove the work that's been done and replace it with work that they're asking to be done. And trust me, they're not going to be happy about it. Your timeline is going to be forever. So many times you're better off coming up with an alternative method that stays within the minor alterations guideline, or just simply pulling the permits and understanding it's going to be more expensive and it's going to take more time. So let's say you've made that decision that you would like to go the permitted route. Now it's time to talk about a timeline. You're going to start off with step one, which is reaching out to an architect or an engineer who's going to draw up the plan that you'll be submitting to the city. The city will require what's called plan review. Figure it's going to take at least a few days for the initial sketches to come out from the architect or engineer, and then you have to approve that it's what you want. So figure 3 to 5 days just for that process, and then you're not ready yet to submit to the city. The second step is now acquiring what's called a tech card from the licensed contractor of that trade, meaning an electrician for electrical, plumbing for a plumber, and then also structural for your carpentry that needs any load-bearing walls to be supported. So they need time in order to review the plans from the architect or engineer, and then draw up what's called a tech card that has the cost for the work on it, as well as their stamp that you can submit to the city. Figure that it's going to take a few days per technician. Give yourself about a week for that as well. So you're already 2 weeks in before you're even set for what's called plan review. So third phase is submission. That's submitting for plan review, and that could take up to 3 weeks for them to approve or ask for alterations on that. So figure you're already at about 5 weeks before you know if you can even start this project. Now, let's say that you're lucky enough to get the pass on the first try and you're ready to go after your plan review. Now it's time to commence work all the way up until what's called the rough phase, meaning that the walls are open, so you can now contact the city to have an inspector come look at the work. They can look at the electrical, plumbing, and any structural in its rough state and see how it's been done, and then from there, they can approve the work. Now, caution, this is going to be time consuming as well. It could take up to a week to get on their schedule, and their ETAs of arrival are wide windows, meaning that they can show up between the hours of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if you're not there when they come, you now have to get back on the schedule. And keep in mind, you're gonna have to schedule an appointment for each individual inspector, meaning you need a plumbing inspector, electrical, and a structural to show up. So once they've come in and you've had their good graces and they give you the approval to resume work, you can go all the way up until the final phase, meaning you've finished the project in your opinion and you're ready to call these inspectors back out to review the work again. Again, you have to go through the same process of getting back on their schedule, pretty much playing Candy Crush all day until they show up. Now, they can also decline in the final phase saying that you didn't do something as per the plans, because you have to have the plans there, and if you did not build to the plans, you now have to redo that portion of the project and get them back out to review it again. Now, let's say you're lucky enough to have the pass here. Now you're going to want to get what's called a certificate of occupancy, which means that you can either sell the property or somebody can legally occupy it. In areas like Hudson County, you may have to get lien releases from public water systems such as Suez, as well as PSE&G, showing that all the bills have been paid up and that nobody previously owned it with an open balance. That's what it will take, and then from there it takes about 3 to 5 weeks to get that certificate of occupancy. So if you do the math here, what could have likely taken a few weeks to build out is going to take months, and the licensed tradespeople are going to be more expensive because there's just less of them, and it's very time consuming to get that license. Holding and maintaining the license is very expensive, so they need to charge accordingly. So when all of these things start to come together, you realize that going from non-permitted to permitted is very complex. It is very time consuming, and only a small number of people can actually perform the work. I think once you understand that, it starts to make sense. And I'm making this video because I find that it's been confusing for people who obviously haven't dealt with this often. And we want to make sure that we're providing as much clarity as possible, because once we're on the same page and we understand some of the complications together, we're able to perform the work that you want. And if you do need permits, we can help you out accordingly. Now, I hope this was helpful for you. Of course, there's so many more variables with permits than just this video, but I thought this would be at least a start. If you have any questions, call, text, or email, and I'm happy to help. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.